It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for August 1st, 2024. I was like, wait, August? And then I couldn't get first out. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, oh no, it's August. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Jan Ochoa, everybody. Jan, how are you doing?
I'm feeling great. Last time I was on Game Mess Mornings was a Monday, and I felt very discombobulated, not due to travel and work at all. I have been looking forward to taking a nap since then, and I have not taken a nap. So I'm gonna go onto my schedule and put on a sauna. I'm gonna take a nap.
That sounds good. Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, if you put it in the sauna, you can do whatever. Like as long as it's in there, like people can't argue with it.
I'm gonna put on the GameSpot sauna too.
Ooh, watch snap. Me. Okay, stand back.
It's
everyone.
Not a threat or anything. It's just a declaration.
Yes,
it's a power move. Everyone,
right. It is commanding the universe to let you nap. Absolutely. I'm proud of you. You should go take a nap. You earned it. Absolutely. Glad you're back though. We're back in the swing of things over here. And then immediately we got more stuff happening later this month. It's just going to kind of be nonstop. So we'll get out of the swing of things once again as well. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good over here.
Brad,
yeah.
The Giant Bomb team is in high demand.
High demand.
We're world travelers.
People are asking for us by name.
Yes.
Walk into a room and no one really looks up, but you could feel the vibe shift. You could feel it.
I'm convinced people don't know my name. But when I also get addressed in an email, I'm like, oh, that's me.
Absolutely. When I show up and they have sliders, I'm like, they got these for me. They knew I was coming.
That's only for you, Grubb.
That's only for me. Absolutely. I did check. Today's the first day you could check to see how many hours you spent in Nintendo World Championship NES Edition, because the Switch is kind of a weird, bad system in some ways. And it's 50 hours, 50. I've spent 50 hours in that game since it came out. So that's like 25 hours a week or something like that. Yeah, I like that game. I like it quite a bit. By the time I was done with Astro's like 8 speedrun challenges, I had spent like 80 or 90 hours. I think that shows the power of leaderboards. Had this game had leaderboards, that number would be higher without a doubt.
Got you, mommy.
Yes.
Oh boy.
I'm a broken toilet of a man. That's right, our wolves. I don't know. Let's just get into this one, everybody. Let's just do this and explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Bungie announces mass layoffs less than 2 months after Destiny 2, The Final Shapes launch. This comes from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, but let's get into it and kind of try to answer as many questions as we possibly can. But let's recap first here from Eddie. Destiny developer Bungie has announced a significant round of layoffs in what is just the latest example of a major studio cutting hundreds of jobs. The company also revealed a brand new game, but it will no longer be developed internally and is shifting to a new internal studio at PlayStation. In a blog post, Bungie executive Pete Parsons confirmed the company is cutting about 17% of its workforce, or around 220 people. Late last year, Bungie had a round of layoffs affecting more than 100 people. Due to rising costs of development and industry shifts, as well as enduring economic conditions, it has become clear that we need to make substantial changes to our cost structure and focus development efforts entirely on Destiny and Marathon. It's a key one there. Everybody will talk about that here in a second. The executive said layoffs are happening at every level of Bungie, and if you go on Twitter and you see people from Bungie talking about getting laid off, it's from every studio across the board. No one was spared, basically. It's that rough. And that 17% number, Jim, like when we talk about these layoffs throughout this year, it's been 5 to 8%. Bungie already had a round of layoffs last October. Mm-hmm. So to have another 17% cut, they are making deep cuts at Bungie. It is going to be a completely different company after all is said and done. Let's get into some of these details. Pete Parsons was talking there because Pete Parsons is not leaving. That is the CEO of Bungie, and to say he's disliked seems like at this point a little bit of an understatement.
Yes.
The response to him on Twitter from former Bungie employees, people who had already left and people who were likely laid off in the last round, they mostly hate this guy and they blame him and they think it's mostly his fault. Do you think that a new Bungie can emerge while still under Pete Parsons in any way?
Wholeheartedly, no. Nothing with confidence or any sense of longevity to the team. I would feel, I think as a fledgling new developer breaking into the scene, having Bungie on your resume is going to be incredibly impressive. I just don't know how long that sentence would be, honestly, under Pete Parsons, because, I feel like Destiny 2 made a massive swing back into the audience's like positive side and the good side, and only to hear this not immediately, but like a couple of weeks after that DLC dropped, has got to be gutting. Especially, it's hard to be a Destiny fan. Staying on top of all the lore and whatever is happening constantly in that game. Content lately, far and few between, especially substantial content that hits with majority of the audience and brings any lapsed players back into Destiny. Have you seen, Grubb, I think I saw this posted by some ex-Bungie folk, the car auctions?
I saw a little bit of this. The number I saw was like potentially up to $2.3 million in classic car auction wins just by Pete Parsons.
Just by Pete Parsons, yes.
Yeah.
And if a CEO is, I don't know Pete Parsons' other investments, if he has any, or his other projects, or his bank account. But if a CEO is making that much money to be participating in fancy used old car auctions, I think the problem doesn't lie at the bottom line that he is cutting and gutting.
Yeah.
It lies at the top. And this is the pattern we've seen like across the board with majority of these layoffs, right, Grubb? Like the people at the top, the CEOs, whatever C-suite people don't want to take the accountability to that anything underperforming or being too costly is on their part. It's always, the problem is always the people that are actually making the games, which does not make sense.
Yeah, and especially in this case where, a lot of that money for Pete Parsons likely came from selling to Sony in the first place, where, he had a huge stake in Bungie likely and was able to get, I don't know, it would have surprised me if his compensation alone was $500 million or something like that as part of that deal or something like that. It could be that high. So he's got a lot of money sitting around that he's going to spend on and that stuff, whatever. But when he made that deal, he was making promises on behalf of all of Bungie and put them in a situation that led to this. This is all due to him being like, we can meet these demands from Sony that we need to make in order to maintain our independence, which was not just important to him, it was important to everyone at Bungie. That's why everyone kind of went along with it, because they were going to be able to maintain their independence. And the only way they wouldn't be able to do that is if they had some sort of catastrophic failure, or the initial numbers were too high. And frankly, they promised too much, because Destiny 2 is in a situation where it can have success. It had success. Lightfall did pretty well. And then the final shape is critically beloved. People thought this is the best Destiny 2's ever been. But if you look at the numbers, like I put a chart here at the bottom of this story jam from SteamDB, which is, you can see that Lightfall came out in that's around early 2023, and the number of concurrent users on Steam peaked. And then we see just now at this D mark here, the image you're looking at, Jan, is when the final shape came out, and it's about as high as Lightfall. It's basically right in line. They had the same performance in the market as Lightfall, and it's they have the players that are playing Destiny now, and they did not shape this game in any real way to be like, this is a relaunch. This is going to be an onboarding event for new people to come in. This is paying off a years-long event. This is the culmination of 10 years of storytelling and all that stuff. It is going to be very hard to attract new players at that time, and this is when they needed to be growing to be able to keep up with the deal that they made with Sony. So when you have 600 people. And, Bungie did have pretty decent compensation, like pretty generous compensation packages relatively compared to the rest of the industry. And then you spend 4 more months on the final shape compared to what you spent on Lightfall, and then you get the same performance. And really, it's kind of a little bit worse because it is declining faster than what Lightfall did in terms of concurrent players.
Yeah.
You could see that it's a recipe for this sort of thing. And after, keeping the right people, which is something that Pete Parsons said to employees last time during the last round of layoffs, and then they come out and make a great game and it performs in line with what the expectations should have been. And then everyone gets laid off because it didn't do something magical. That is clearly mismanagement by Pete Parsons and the whole executive leadership team. So, and now, to be fair, people on the leadership team are getting laid off. There are like the chief business officer. There's a handful of people from the C-suite level that are getting laid off. It's just not Pete Parsons. And that's why people are being like, step down, Pete. You should just resign. And I don't think it's out of the question because Bungie is moving under PlayStation Studios. And maybe once that transition happens, Sony will cut him. I don't know.
Either way, when Pete Parsons leaves, the sore spot for me is that he's going to get a generous package as he exits the company.
Oh, sure.
Either way, whether he gets cut from Sony or PlayStation from a top level, or he decides to leave on his own accord, he's going to have a generous compensation package as he exits, despite gutting the company and displacing hundreds of people. And now, especially across the board in different levels of Bungie. Right? Like I hate whenever we have a massive round of layoffs, just seeing people pop up on Twitter saying like, I've been at this company for X amount of years. And you see like the loyalty from like those employees. You see how much working at Bungie, working at X Studio meant to them, only for the rugs to get pulled underneath them. Like, and it absolutely stinks, Grubb.
Yep.
It's great to see that Destiny 2 is able to like reach that same number of players, but like the drop off is so immediate. And like maybe pouring those same people, if you didn't let them go, could sustain that player count for an extended period of time. But I feel like the Destiny 2 audience is just going to keep coming back for like maybe a big event like this and then drop off immediately. And I don't know if like those spikes are going to keep Destiny 2 healthy, or even if that playership there is going to translate eventually to Marathon. And now I worry about Marathon's launch as a whole.
Yep. And, clearly we like the thing that can get new players in is something like a Destiny 3. But let's talk about that quote from Pete Parsons where it's, let's see what at the end there. We need to focus development efforts entirely on Destiny and Marathon. So what does that mean? Well, basically, they are going to continue working on Marathon and Destiny 2. They're going to keep making new content for Destiny 2. Now, when it comes to Destiny 2, the expectation, I believe internally, is that the future content will be lighter, smaller, to take less time than what the final shape did, require fewer people. So there will be expansions and updates, but they will be sort of not a shell of their former selves, but they'll definitely have that vibe about them. And then Marathon, go ahead.
That's definitely not what the Destiny 2 audience wants or has been conditioned to expect. Do they know? Are they waiting for things to blow up in their face, Grubb?
I don't know. I feel like they're in that one of those rocks and hard places where they feel like they don't have enough to like start something new and they feel like they have to make money now and to like shift to Destiny. Like they are not ready to go to Destiny 3. We'll talk about it more here in a second, but they are not ready to do that. And so it's like, it's got to be on Marathon. That's still years away, but they are going to keep working on that. That's the next big release that they're hoping will hit. So God, a lot's riding on that. And you feel like things could blow up in their face when it comes to that, if it doesn't go the right way. Now, Bungie's still a very talented team. They still will have a lot of talented people there. But morale's got to be low, and believing that Marathon is the answer to all their problems is likely something that no one there actually believes. So, yeah, Destiny 2 continuing to go, probably starting up some new seasons or whatever, and being the primary going concern is going to be number one, and then Marathon being right there, having a lot of people working on that. Now,
boy.
There was that third game, Gummy Bears, which did leak a while ago. It was when it leaked, it was a MOBA like game, and that is spinning out onto a new team that will be under PlayStation, Sony Interactive Entertainment, but they will be in an office that's still in like Bungie's offices, that sort of thing. That also doesn't feel like an answer, but that's not under Bungie anymore, right? That's under PlayStation Studios. It's outside of Bungie, but they are not closing that down. Now, what is going on the shelf is Payback. This is what was also leaked and reported to be maybe Destiny 3. Technically not Destiny 3. Internally they would refer to it as the next Destiny. I don't know necessarily what the distinction is there, Jan, but they think there's a distinction there. But that is going on the shelf indefinitely, according to the people I've talked to. And so either way, like, let's be clear. A Destiny 3 or next Destiny is just not the thing that they are going to be coming out of this looking toward, let alone working on in any real way. And next Destiny is a very good one, chat. Thank you very much. I don't. To me, it sounds like a mess. I don't know.
It sounds like a huge mess, and like these messes start from the top, Grubb, right? Like they come from mismanagement across the board, and especially like you are screwing with a developer that has a deep roster of very talented devs, and then like how do you expect any of them to work at full capacity when most of their teams, peers that they've worked with for years and years, develop deep bonds, and like just like workflows together are now gone suddenly from the company. Like morale's, like you said, it's got to be at an all-time low, and especially when you are trying to solve the problem of Destiny 2 retention and then trying to lure new players, lapsed players back into Destiny 3. That is like that isn't an uphill climb at this point, Grubb. You are climbing up a greasy, oily ladder at this point. And I don't know about you, but I don't normally like to do that.
Yeah, I try to avoid that wherever possible. Let me just clarify a few things here from my notes and from some stuff. Let's see here. Yeah, those expansions for Destiny 2, expansions, they're not even using that term internally anymore. They're calling them content packs. So like that should put it into perspective, like what you should expect from Destiny 2 going forward. They want Destiny 2 to keep being a thing, but the investment level is going to pare back in a significant way. Meanwhile, they still think Marathon is actually coming out in 2025. So I'm correcting that, right? I said years away. 2025. And I'm told that expectations are sky high. They are enormous for that game. So that goes back to that leadership of what are you telling PlayStation? And then what are you putting on the line? What's the collateral that you are betting and putting on the table that gets lost if you don't hit those expectations? And based on the what's happened time and time again now with Bungie under PlayStation, probably a lot.
I would have to imagine there are rumblings within PlayStation. They made this huge investment in buying and acquiring Bungie because they knew how much of an asset it could be, only to see, player count dwindling, and then now all of this like negative buzz about the company. Prior to even to this round of layoffs, like still, I feel like we were feeling the effects of the last round of layoffs. Mm-hmm. And the only thing to kind of like put that to bed was the positive reception to the last DLC that came out for Destiny 2. And now this happens again. I got to feel that people at PlayStation, they have to be upset at this mismanagement, right? Like they have to step in at some point, and maybe they're stepping in ever so slightly with like the little gummy bear team. I hate that is the most intriguing thing from this.
They're stepping in a big way, though. I mean, by shifting Bungie under PlayStation. That's something we talked a little bit more about yesterday, and then I talked about on Twitter. Yeah, Herman Holtz now fully runs Bungie. He's not like taking over Pete Parsons' role. He's not the CEO of Bungie or something like that. But like any other studio, Bungie now exists under Sony Interactive Entertainment's PlayStation Worldwide Studios banner, and that clearly is going to be very different. That means they have to answer to PlayStation in a way that, like, just a little bit ago, every PlayStation studio was answering to Bungie. Like, if they had a live service thing, it's like, hey, is your live service thing good enough? Well, here's Bungie to tell you no or yes.
Oh my Lord. Is Pete Parsons single-handedly responsible for the Last of Us project being shelved and Concord making the green light?
I mean, it definitely seems like that's a big part of it. Now, whether that's like Pete Parsons showing up or not, I have no idea.
No, I'm gonna blame him.
Yeah,
I'm gonna blame him.
Yeah, that seems fair. But
yeah, I mean, freaking goober.
We do know the Last of Us factions game was like, big part of that was Bungie showed up, was like this. There's some issues here, and there almost certainly were. There almost certainly were going to be problems with that game running as a live service. But they showed up and highlighted them, and Sony. I don't know if they panicked or something, but they definitely pulled back from that game because of that. So yeah, it is. It's a mess, is what it is, and I feel for everyone that is going to have to like try to like push through this. There's the 220 people who are just cut. There's 150-ish people that are being moved from Bungie over to Sony Interactive Entertainment, and I bet a lot of those people are like, wait, what does that look like?
What does that mean?
What am I doing? What job do I like? Am I really going to be protected here? It's yes. What does that mean? It's got to be very confusing. And again, having just a couple of mistakes made by people at the top who are too busy buying cars instead, and having it like rip apart so many people's lives one way or the other, either losing their jobs or being shifted around and whipped around to some other department. That is rough stuff. And I just don't know how. I mean, I think part of like when I look at the player numbers of Destiny on Steam, I think people are like, just the morale of the community seems low. They're like, well, I don't want to play that, God. And then like, but I'm going to invest my time in that, and they're just going to give me content packs going forward. It feels like a death spiral.
It feels like a death spiral, especially when there are other games as a service, live service games out there that are, I don't want to say taking care of their community, but at least addressing the needs in a more dynamic way than Bungie's been able to because of all of the shit happening there, Grubb. Refresh my memory, please. What is Marathon supposed to be?
An extraction shooter.
Why?
Yeah, because that's the buzzword. Yeah, I don't know. I think listen, Marathon originally on Mac, a game I think I played when it got ported to something once. It was a first-person shooter, an early first-person shooter, and now and then 2 years ago when they were starting to talk about this, I bet a lot of people from the Bungie team were playing Tarkov, and they're like, we could do the Bungie version of this, and there's still some promise there. I feel like, like Call of Duty Warzone was like, there was Fortnite. Clearly, Fortnite right away cracked the nut on having a very broadly appealing battle royale game. But Call of Duty Warzone was the one that's like, and here's like, it's just like arcadey and it's for that Call of Duty audience and all that stuff.
Okay.
There is a world in which Bungie could be the one that like crack that nut on extraction shooters for that audience as well. But who knows? It's expectations seem like they're even higher than like what it would look like if they did that. Can you just turn the volume on that? It seems pretty loud. All right, Jan, let's move along here. I'm going to go to this next story down here. Dragon Age: The Veilguard will reveal its release date in August. This is from Eric Hiddleback-Fruru at Game Reactor. Last week, BioWare reiterated that Dragon Age: The Veilguard is still set to come out in 2024, and that we'll get the release date later this summer. We now have something more specific about that last part and more. BioWare confirms that Dragon Age: The Veilguard's release date will be announced in August, and that's this month. It doesn't stop there either, as the beloved studio will also share details about its plans for expansions, DLC, and more at the same time. Last I heard is it's going to be October, Jan.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think that was like weeks ago. That could have changed. Obviously, they didn't give a date for a reason. I'm going to deal with this TV. So, are you looking forward to Dragon Age: The Veilguard?
Yes, I am looking forward to Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I know that there was some odd reception when they Bethesda had announced the name change from Dreadwolf to the
BioWare.
Veilguard. BioWare.
Yep.
It's all the bees, man.
Yep, I get them mixed up too. Conflate them all the time.
I'm trying to protect the hive, but these different bee companies keep messing with me.
That's right.
But hearing Lucy James talk about her time revisiting Dragon Age, the 2014 game, a couple bombcasts ago, had me intrigued because I never checked out the original Dragon Age. I kind of just appreciated it from the periphery. But now I'm thinking your boy might try and dig in. We also had the Veilguard, parts of the Veilguard team in the Fandom Comic-Con stew to interview during a Comic-Con. And Grubb, I love it when I'm convinced to play a game based off of the enthusiasm of the folks making the game behind the scenes. Like,
Absolutely.
There's PR and marketing talk going on all the time, and like trailers, they can wow you, they can sway you, but seeing a passionate dev that has devoted years of their life to a game, it's infectious. And I want to see the game that they are waxing so poetically about. So I think I'm also excited. Also, I need to fill out and pad my roster for Fantasy Critic.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that, because every time I hear anything from about this game, or we hear publicly about this game, people seem pretty confident about it behind the scenes, and it's that is infectious, as you said. And I'm looking here. It's still October, late October though, so again, that could shift between now and when they actually announce the date. But I expect that probably to be the time, because it's been the time for like what they've been aiming for a while now, for the last few months. So late October for Dragon Age: The Veilguard. That feels like a really good holiday game. Feels like exactly the kind of RPG people will be wanting at that time. So yeah,
October, not only the month that I and Alex Buniello were born in, it's also gonna seems like it might be a month of the dragons,
That's
Grubb,
right.
because not only Dragon Age: The Veilguard, but Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero.
That's right.
Also dropping.
It's Dragon Month, everybody, here on Giant Bomb.
Dragon
Stand
Month.
back. Watch out.
I was gonna but that's not the sound dragons make.
Also, I just got a little text here. It says, I can't answer Jan's question. Why is Marathon an extraction shooter? So, then the people in the know don't really know the answer to that. So, hey, who knows?
This terrifies me, Grubb. Like, how many times do I pop up on a fucking text chain to someone?
Yeah, right. Was that the ears are burning or the nose itches? Which one's that?
You sneeze?
You sneeze.
One of those?
You sneeze. It makes you sneeze. Yeah, like looking at the sun, or when people text about you. All right, let's
Don't slide into people's DMs about me. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
don't lick my nudes.
Oh yeah,
sorry,
they're out there anyhow. Yeah, listen, everybody, stand back. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this game now. More and more, I think that the game will have another chance here to make that new first impression, because that Summer Game Fest trailer, I think, confused a lot of people. The cinematic trailer, and I think that they will recognize that, and whatever they come with for this next sort of marketing beat, they will hit people with exactly like, here's the game, and here's what it's going to feel like to play the game, and I think that'll be a big win for them.
Yeah. I would love a more focused showcase of the game like that. Also, I'm pitching this now. Maybe we play through some of the original Dragon Age. Dragon Age.
Oh, hell yeah, that would rule. Okay, let's do it. All right, well, let's take a quick break. When we get back, there's plenty more headlines to get into, including a little tease about the next Battlefield. Take your nap. All right, we are back, and the kids are watching Bluey, everybody, so stand back. That's Inside Out 2 YouTube videos. Never mind. EA teases next Battlefield game, saying it's among company's most ambitious projects ever. This is from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot. EA's Battlefield 2042 was something of a disappointment for the company, but the franchise remains popular and is set to expand with a major new installment. During EA's earnings briefing, CEO Andrew Wilson said making the new Battlefield game is a top priority for EA right now, adding that the company has high hopes for the project. The community is energized by what our teams are doing and excited for what comes next. This is not just one of our top priorities, it is also one of the most ambitious projects in our history. We have brought together the very best team, coupled with the resources and technology they need to deliver an epic Battlefield experience. Then they are using the word experience, Jan. Do you think this is something that will be set up as a platform, and also them calling it the most ambitious thing ever. Can this be like free to play, or does it have to be another massive $70 game?
It's so interesting trying to be a big AAA first person shooter and how you exist in the lives of gamers, because we see Call of Duty making odd pivots, but Call of Duty has definitely transitioned to be a platform where you have a campaign, you have the multiplayer, you have the battle royale mode. I think if they want to make a big swing, making Battlefield free to play and attaching like a decent battle pass or perks if you are paying for whatever in Battlefield could be good. God, I remember the launch of 2042 Grubb, and that was absolutely abysmal.
Yeah, because it felt like it had such a chance. I remember being excited about like tornadoes in the middle of combat and stuff. You're like, man, that seems like anything could happen. That's great. And then it just was such a dud. And it was like so hard to convince people to play or buy the game in the first place and things like that. So it just had so many disadvantages.
And missing a lot of features at launch as well, if I remember correctly.
Right, yeah.
So I hope at least whenever this next Battlefield game comes out, it feels more like a fuller package rather than like I'm being scammed out of my money here, missing a lot of base things that I've quality of life things for the player. I don't know. I feel like maybe going free to play, especially with the scale that Battlefield plays at, could be interesting. At least it could lead to a very good positive boom at launch. And maybe Battlefield doesn't take itself so seriously. It already doesn't, based off of like the clips I've seen. But like, just lean all the way in. Just give me a they're not gonna have a Captain Toad skin. What am I thinking?
Give me a rule though.
Throw in the Rabbids. No, that's Ubisoft. Throw in the Rabbids anyway.
Yeah, why not? Yeah,
perhaps.
they're done with Mario for now. So yeah, go back, give the Rabbids the Battlefield. So I think when they talk about like experience, I think they are saying without saying that they see what Call of Duty does with its launcher and having all the different options for people in there, and they will approach something like that with Battlefield. So I bet there will be both, right? There will be the $70 Battlefield game that has the traditional multiplayer, that has a campaign, that has all kinds of other stuff in there, and probably gets you extra stuff in the rest of the launcher. But then there will be there's that ripple effect, right here from Eddie. Let's just read this. Earlier this year, it was reported that the next Battlefield will have a free-to-play battle royale mode created by Ripple Effect. The next game in the first-person shooter franchise won't arrive until 2025 at the earliest, and still doesn't have an official name. So you have the Ripple Effect battle royale mode over here, whatever it ends up turning into. Maybe battle royale won't be the thing at that point, but probably. And that's free to play over here, just like Warzone. And then Battlefield traditional is over here, just like Call of Duty. Now, I think the problem with that is Battlefield's always chasing Call of Duty and never matches Call of Duty. And sometimes, and then when it fails to match Call of Duty time after time, it gets knocked down much harder than Call of Duty ever gets knocked down. But what I mean, do they have any other options here? I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like the Battlefield team is also kind of in a good spot because of how much the last release soured public opinion, that like, well, anything must be a step up from here. And I don't know. I've always been Battlefield curious, Grubb, but it's also felt super intimidating. Anytime we've checked out a Battlefield clone on the website, it has given me the hankering to check out Battlefield proper, but knowing that it is not in like the best state right now. Bad Company, I keep seeing people throw around. I feel like that would be a big swing. That could potentially be a big experience for folk, but I don't know if that is the appetite of folks at the top making the decisions.
Yeah, I remember this is from years ago, that there was a Bad Company 1 and or 2 remaster / remake that they were like kind of starting up. And then when Vince Zampella took the lead, of Battlefield. He was Vince Zampella from Respawn, previously from Call of Duty. He was in charge of Infinity Ward when they made Call of Duty 4 and all that stuff. And then when they left and started that new studio, Respawn, and then now he's in charge of basically a lot of EA's traditional games. He was like, look, that is we need that to be bigger than what you all are planning to do right now. And so we're going to kind of shelf this, and we're going to put it back behind the break glass in case of emergency situation, and we'll go back to Bad Company in a different way at some point. Now, who knows? I mean, it feels like I don't know. Honestly, this feels like maybe the right time, right? Like coming off of 2042, which felt like it should have hit and didn't, which is maybe the worst thing you could say about that. It's like it felt like it should have worked and it still didn't. Now you're going to be going into this experience where they're going to have a ripple effect. You're going to have a ripple effect, free-to-play battle royale game. You're going to have the traditional multiplayer. Is that going to be behind a paywall? Probably. And then you're going to have a campaign. Well, what kind of campaign? At that point, why not maybe do Bad Company and have some co-op and stuff in there? And then you could start justifying having a $70 price behind that content.
I don't know. 2042 is 20-ish years away from us. We could develop Titans by then.
It's true. That's right.
I want a Titan. Oh my God, Grubb. I would dig the crap out of a Battlefield game with not like the good Titans we're conditioned to expect in Titanfall 2, but like a haphazard, shoddily built Titan.
Yeah, maybe like a post-apocalyptic game, and people are like piecing together Titans, and it's more like suits of armor, like knights' armor, that sort of thing.
Or bad forklifts.
Yes, right. It's just pieced together, right? But it's like you have ownership of it, and it becomes like a ritualistic thing, a religious thing in some ways. Yeah.
Did we just talk about the Hugh Jackman hit Real Steel?
Well, I'm always talking about Real Steel. Real Steel is top tier dad movie bullshit. I love that movie so much. Oh my God, it is so good.
I can't wait to revisit that when I'm a father.
Yeah, it's real good. It's that and Interstellar. Those are the two that like you have to rewatch as soon as you become a dad.
That's a double feature, Grubb.
Absolutely. That's a good night right there. All right, let's see here. I got more headlines, including Xbox announces 2024 plans for Gamescom, including over 50 playable games. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. Microsoft has announced its plans for Gamescom 2024. The Xbox booth will feature over 50 playable games, split across first-party Xbox Game Studio releases and third-party Xbox titles. They include Age of Mythology Retold, Aura, History Untold. Man, a lot of tellings of history. Diablo 4, Vessel of Hatred, Fallout 76, Milepost Zero, the new expansion, Elder Scrolls Online Gold Road, and Towerborn. And Towerborn is that kind of beat-em-up game from the people that did the Banner Saga. Xbox will also host exclusive theatrical presentations of Avowed, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and Starfield Shattered Space. Blizzard's Gamescom 2024 presence will also be a part of the Xbox booth. The booth will feature a public hands-on gameplay demo of the Diablo 4 Spiritborn class, with a Diablo Immortal Helicarry boss tournament taking place as well. A special immersive World of Warcraft experience will also be present at the show, giving Gamescom attendants the chance to feel the thrill of skydiving in Azeroth. The Xbox booth will also have playable titles from third-party publishers like Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl, Rebellion's Atomfall, Space Marine 2, Arc 2, Star Wars Outlaws. Man, Arc 2 is still real.
Wow.
So they're going all out for Gamescom. They're going way more all out for Gamescom than they even came close to for Summer Game Fest. The Summer Game Fest they had their own Xbox mixer and they had stuff there, but I don't know if they had 50 games. I didn't go to their thing, but that's not what it seemed like when people relayed it to me. The effort behind Xbox's or Microsoft and Xbox like saying, hey, here are the games, here's what's going on, be excited, feels mismatched with like where Xbox is at in the marketplace right now. Yesterday's story of like yet again another quarter down 40% or more for hardware sales year over year. But what other choice do they have? They got to come out there and be like, we do have exciting stuff. You should be excited. And I think people will be like, yes, and I'm going to play it on my PC. And I think Microsoft at this point, that's just fine. But I don't know. I'm glad that they're like showing up like this. This feels like, no, there's still plenty of momentum behind the other company making video games as a first party.
Yeah, 100% not guaranteed. Agreed. I want to see what Microsoft is doing, and seeing this huge turnout for Gamescom definitely makes it feel like Gamescom is like a tour stop for Microsoft as they make the rounds until the end of the year, until like a lot of these games pop out. I'm very curious about Towerborn.
Me too.
I feel like the God, Grubb, what was that other Monster Hunter like game that we checked out that we had a decent time with? Wild. EA put this out.
Wildborn or something like that. God, yeah, I can't remember. Wild Hearts. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
I mean, I enjoyed that. That was fun.
Yeah, so I'd like to see like another take on the Monster Hunter formula, because like, you know, there are parts of that experience that I love Capcom, but Capcom still hasn't completely nailed from like quality of life perspective. But I want to see what more of that could look like. Gosh, if only we were sending a team to Gamescom to check out all these neat things, to like seeing what it'd be like to parachute through Azeroth.
An impossible dream, Jan. Quit saying things you know can't happen.
Ah, gosh, I'm just such a dreamer, Grubb.
Yeah, Towerborn's one I've been excited about for a while. It's that like side-scrolling beat 'em up sort of thing. I have the video right here. I'll bring it up. Let me just see if I gotta frame it up here. But it like looks beautiful and very cool, and I think it should be something worth checking out. And then it has so many other elements going on there that I'll have to play to fully understand. But God, yeah, it looks amazing. Yeah, it's like, so yeah, we'll get some hands-on reports from that game and more. And just overall, this is Gamescom, the heart of Europe. Like they're right there showing up being like, hey, we want to win over this audience. Europe has mostly overlooked Xbox this generation, as it has through most generations in the past, but especially this generation. And I think that they're just like, look, yeah, maybe we're not going to get you to buy an Xbox, but we could still get you to buy our games. And I think that's probably the right move for them. On the long scale, the grand scale of time, Jan, if we're talking like 100 years from now, I think PC gaming will still be here probably. I don't know 100%. About consoles. Like, you know, all it takes is one generation for one of these companies to get like to either take it on the chin, or to like really to bone things up, or to lose interest, to be like, it's not growing fast enough, we should just sell it off to some other company or something like that. That's not out of the realm of possibility in the next 25 years for something like this. So when I think about like, if I'm in charge of one of these companies and I have to like place my chips down somewhere, I also would be putting my chips down on PC and open platforms, as opposed to just trying to grow my walled garden again. So I think Xbox is positioning themselves to do that. Whether or not they're going to be able to pull it off, who knows? But it starts with stuff like this, like 50 games at Gamescom.
Oddly enough, I feel like 100 years from now, who knows where we'll be. I'll be in the dirt. Long, yes. Long over here, 100%. But I do see PC games sustaining and lasting, but also perhaps handheld games, not mobile games, but handheld games. Like, I don't know, I could definitely see a revision of the Game Boy coming out in a couple of years. Yeah, if Nintendo ever does like that move, I think it would do very well for them. I don't know what it would be a sign of, like, from the company, if like there's other troubles or whatever. They're like, we gotta go back to the Game Boy. But in the next like 10 to 15 years, there's going to be a butter zone where like multiple generations have grown up like remembering the Game Boy. Like I got the original Game Boy when I was just a kid, and then but like the several generations of kids behind me got Game Boys, like 2 generations basically, to play Pokemon games, and they are all going to be like, hey, that name means a lot to me. So yeah, so stuff like that could happen. Yeah, you're right though. Handheld games will still be a major thing. And I think that'll be like the primary way, honestly. Personalized gaming experiences right there in front of you. That's always been it for me. It's just so funny seeing like a couple of years ago, the major focus on what the console is, right? What the console looks like, how it fits into your home entertainment ecosystem, only for the Nintendo Switch and subsequently the Steam Deck to kind of re-influence of people, and like, I kind of like having this thing in my hands. Yep. That's for me, that's always been it. Like, just Link's Awakening on the Game Boy in the backseat of the car on road trips as a 10 or 11-year-old. I mean, that's just like when it's like, oh, gaming's just going to be everything to me from now on. At 100%, that's when that happened.
I like playing games on the TV too, sure, but it's just something.
Totally.
It's so intimate to have the games right there in front of you. All right, let's hit these last few stories. Devs say that working with Apple Arcade is frustrating and like an abusive relationship. Zach Swisen from Kotaku writes, a new report featuring quotes from anonymous developers who have worked with Apple Arcade claim the subscription gaming service has no real goals, barely communicates with studios, and treats teams poorly, making them jump through hoops and wait for months just to get paid. One developer even claimed that working with Apple Arcade was like being in an abusive relationship. One big problem is that some devs have to spend months chasing Apple down for their money. The way Apple Arcade works is that devs get a large amount of money up front to make the game and then collect royalties from Apple. I just started playing in the 64 jungle mix in the background. I didn't mean to do that. We can go weeks without hearing from Apple at all, and their general response time to emails is 3 weeks if they reply at all, said a developer speaking to mobilegamer.biz. We're supposed to be able to ask product, technical, and commercial questions, but often half the Apple team won't turn up, and when they do, they have no idea what's going on and can't answer our questions, either because they don't have any knowledge on how to answer it or are not able to share that info for confidentiality reasons. Yeah, that sounds like it sucks.
That's insane, Grubb.
That's insane. That and I get that gaming is not Apple's thing. That's maybe that's not stating it strongly enough. But you do have a gaming subscription service that you are charging people for, and the whole idea is you pay developers to make games that are better than the free-to-play schlock they get from the rest of the store. You should probably pay those people that have made those games for you. What are you talking about? That's crazy. You're Apple.
If there's, I know you have the money, Tim.
You definitely have the money.
God, that feels insane hearing that these indie devs that haven't some type of exclusive contract to remain on Apple Arcade for X amount of time have to hunt Apple for their money.
Yeah.
What?
And jump through hoops? It should just be the second the game launches, it should just automatically transfer to their bank account. It should just be automated. That's crazy.
Can I give you my routing number?
Yeah.
Tim? Can you just Apple pay me this shit?
Yeah, what the hell?
God.
Plaid won't let them sign up their bank account or whatever, connect it or whatever. Yeah, it's dumb.
And that seems so insane because we have seen a steady trickle of, it feels weird to say this, but big Apple Arcade games finally make the jump to other platforms. We're seeing it with Fantasian, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, even the not Match 3, but the puzzle game that was pretty big and was a big heater for Apple Arcade's release. It was dungeon themed. Folks at home, Grindstone.
Yeah,
there we go.
There it is. Yeah, Grindstone. Yeah, people try to say this is normal for a lot of businesses that work this way, and it's I think the reason developers are saying this is because it's not normal for the space that they're in. I think Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo have a pretty well understood process for getting paid. The timeline is very well understood. And I think the problem here is not that the people just have to wait. It is that they have to hunt down Apple and make it happen, which is not normal in this space. I mean, especially not with Steam right over there, just making it the most automated basic thing in the world where it's just going to happen in the background and you don't have to do much to make it happen. That's the norm. And you kind of can't be this is the way things are. It's it could be better. We see it right there. And it's better for the vast majority of gaming purchases in the world when you look at Steam and the Xbox Store and the PlayStation Store and Nintendo eShop all put together. So, yeah.
Also, wouldn't it continue to build a positive relationship between devs and Apple if they were being paid on time?
Yeah.
Where hey, we'll continue to keep making games for you guys, or we'll tell our other indie friends to.
Well, that seems like that's the underlying thing here, right, Jen? That Apple doesn't care about that anymore. They don't care about Apple Arcade. It was an initiative. It's a years old initiative. The shine is worn off. They're not reinvesting in that thing. They're not thinking about it actively. That is old news. And so the developers are unhappy, and that's going to sort of slightly poison that audience against us, or that that industry against us. We don't care, and that's just Apple with gaming. Every generation from the beginning of time.
Yeah.
PlayStation Plus free games for August 2024. Let's see here: Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, and Ender Lily's Quietus of the Nights. These are all coming starting August 6th and will be available through August 2nd, or September 2nd, I should say. And those are the PlayStation Plus free games for August. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga is a massive, solid game, yes. And one that's good for families and good for kind of any fan of Star Wars. It's really well done.
It's so funny that when Dan and I checked out the OLED Steam Deck at Valve, the first game that they show us to demo the capabilities and like how great the screen is on the Steam Deck OLED was Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga.
Yep. I mean, that's the materials they use and that stuff that make it look like real Legos, and then combining that with that OLED screen. Yep, that's very good stuff. All right, let's hit this last one. AMD reports positive financial results, but gaming business slumps. This is from Alberto Garrido at Game Reactor. The crisis at the world's leading chip makers is shaking the entire technology sphere. First, with Intel's flawed 13th and 14th generation, followed by the announcement of thousands of layoffs at the company. And now AMD is releasing troubling data on its custom gaming chip division. As you probably know, AMD chips are used in game consoles, and the Xbox Series, PS5, and Steam Deck all feature them. Now, with the release of financial results from Q2 2024, we see a 59% drop in gaming revenue, down more than $648 million. And this is almost mostly attributable to the decline in sales of Xbox, but we've also seen declines in sales of PlayStation 5 year over year, quarter to quarter, at least in the United States, according to Circana and Matt Piscatella over there. But yeah, when fewer consoles are selling, Microsoft and Sony to a lesser extent are going to be ordering fewer chips, and that is going to hurt AMD's revenue. Yeah, do you think? I mean, it's that same old story, right, Jam? We're waiting for GTA 6 or some other game kind of like that, right, to have the whole industry bounce back. Is that a healthy place for the industry to be in?
No, it's not a healthy place to put all our eggs in the GTA 6 basket. I don't care for GTA 6, but I feel like I'm being forced to care.
We have to care. We have no choice here.
It's like I'm gonna be like the guy in the 15th row in like the Dune cave going like, I guess we'll go with this guy, Lisan Al Gaib. It's like everyone else is doing it, I guess I'll also go with it.
Yeah, you don't really have. Yeah, we don't have a choice. Yeah, it's. I mean, the whole idea is like this will be the thing that gets people. I mean, did you see the numbers earlier this week that like a significant majority of people are still playing GTA Online on PS4? Like you can play that on PS5, Xbox Series X, PC, and all this stuff, but the majority are playing on PS4, and so they're saying like that right there is the thing that highlights what is going on in the industry. Is that the people that have found their game, they found it last generation, and they're still playing that game on that system, and they've not been given the compelling argument to upgrade because the game is still the same game. Yeah, it's going to run better. It's the same game. While we talk about it, while I gobble up Digital Foundry, give it to me, yum, num, 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 num. The wide, vast, broad audience is saying, no, that's the same game. And my understanding is when I get a new system, I get new games. And that's it's that simple for them, and so they're gonna need to wait until that new game comes along, and it will be GTA 6 for most of them. People point out Elder Scrolls 6. Obviously, there is like a list of games that are in that tier below GTA 6. But yeah,
no, I agree. GTA 6 will save the gaming industry. It's gonna undo all of these layoffs. New company. We're gonna be swimming in money, Grubb.
It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be great.
Like anecdotally, like catching up with our other fandom homies that aren't as plugged into games, and just asking them like, "Hey, what do what type of gaming content do you consume?" And then, oddly enough, the answer is people streaming or on YouTube doing RP GTA Online content.
Yep, it's still huge, and I there was a lot of content creators I were like variety streamers and started doing that, and that's where they feel like, well, this is where the money is. I got more people watching than ever. I'm going to keep doing that. All right, that does it for the headlines, does it for the news. I have a poll question from yesterday. I think I have it right here. Let me just get it right there. Bang, bang, boom. News assets. There we go. I have to answer this. Have you ever played Killer 7? I
No.
touched it, but I'm going to say no. And that's what 70% of the audience said. Out of the 2.5 thousand votes, 70% said no, they have not played Killer 7. 30% have. I think a remaster would go over real nice.
Swimmingly.
And he said a complete edition. He's already done a remaster in 2018 for PC or whatever, and I got that on my Steam Deck, and I am going to go play that. But he wants to, Suda51 wants to re-release that and as a complete edition. And I think that would go over well at this moment in time, better than the 2018 edition, I should say. I got a new poll question. We'll get to that here in a second. Before we do, though, Jan, what do we have happening on Giant Bomb?
Today, we have voicemail dump truck popping off. Tomorrow is going to be a little bit of an odd day. You, Dan, Minotti are out. So I will raise the troops being politely asking Nikki and Sean if they're free, and maybe some other miscreants for Unprofessional Fridays. I'd like to have a PCR if possible. I'm taking suggestions, folks, for UPF tomorrow. GMM, maybe I'll do something in place of GMM. Maybe that's when I'll have my vacation slideshow.
Hey, there you go.
Oh god, I don't want to show off my popcorn buckets from Japan. It makes me sad inside how much space
you have to own it.
But anyway, yeah, the UPF tomorrow. Hey, maybe we'll bust out GTA Online.
Can I throw a suggestion out for UPF that I would like to watch? Shit,
no,
I'm gonna do it anyway. You can't stop me. That new No Man's Sky content. I'm like interested in like what that, because you could play that multiplayer now. There's so much going on in there. I think I would like to see what's going on there. Or Killer 7. There you go.
I gotta play Killer 7 with you, Grubb.
Yes,
we gotta experience that together.
Let's play some Killer 7. That would be awesome. Yes. Yeah, No Jan Sky. It's right there. Okay. And then Always Be Clean says I left a voicemail for that Grubb country song stuff. Very fun. All right. Well, that'll be a fun voicemail dump truck then later today. Anything else? Yeah. We'll you'll try to put together tomorrow. It's going to be a mess, like you said, but yeah, people.
It's a fun mess indeed.
Always.
Also, folks, if you are hankering for Lego Star Wars content other than the games, one of the best interviews from Comic-Con was interviewing the dudes behind Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, and Bobby Moynihan is a part of that cast.
That's fun.
And they're doing some funky multiverse kind of stuff, but it's all in the form of Lego Star Wars. So I'm très excited for that joint.
That sounds great. Bobby Moynihan really won me over in DuckTales. He's really good in that. All right, the next poll question. Do you think the next Battlefield should be free to play? Yes or no? We will talk about that on the next Game Mess Mornings. We'll get the results of that and talk about that there. Jan, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
It's the only way I want to start a Thursday, Grubb.
Thank you all for listening and watching. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.